The tragedy that happened 3 years ago when 4 people were murdered in Laurel, Nebraska took another step toward a conclusion this morning. On August 4, 2022, 86-year-old Gene Twyford, his wife, 85-year-old Janet Twyford, and their 55-year-old daughter Dana Twyford were shot and killed in their home. 2 blocks away, 53-year-old Michelle Ebeling was also shot and killed in her home. Both homes were then set on fire to try to cover up the crimes. Jason Jones and his wife Carrie Jones were both convicted by Nebraska juries in those murders. They both had hearings this morning in Cedar County Court in Hartington. We have live Team 4 coverage of both of this morning's hearings with KTV's Katie Koppel and Kaylee Doms. And Katie, we begin with you. In the Jason Jones hearing this morning, you were in the courtroom. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Al, it's been a long and emotional 3 years for the Twyford and Ebeling families. And here in the Cedar County Courthouse in Hartington, Nebraska, both Jason and Carrie Jones had hearings to find out what happens next for them. As for Jason Jones, just over a year ago, in September of 2024, Jason Jones was found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder by a jury. And that same jury found the circumstances warranted a possible death penalty. Today in Cedar County, 3 judges heard evidence and testimony in that matter. Jason Jones' attorney, Todd Lancaster, highlighted Jones' lack of a criminal record and his time in the military as reasons why he should not be sentenced to death for killing 4 people 3 years ago in Laurel. His attorney argued that Jones was suffering from a mental health episode when he committed the murders, and his close connection with his mother, which his attorney believes should grant him life in prison and not death. The state argued that the crime of murdering 4 people deserved to be sentenced to death, citing other similar death penalties in the state. Today's hearing was in front of 3 judges, 2 of which were randomly selected from the state of Nebraska, plus Jones' trial court judge, Brian Meismer. These 3 judges will now determine whether Jones will be sentenced to death or spend life in prison. Now, that ruling will come at a later date. But it is important to note that, like his trial, Jason Jones was not present in the courtroom today, but he will be present at that sentencing at a later date. Now, Jason Jones was not the only one convicted of a crime in this murder. His wife, Carrie Jones, also facing a first-degree murder conviction. KTV's Carrie Jones.
Yeah, Katie, Carrie Jones was convicted of first-degree murder earlier this year, which automatically carries a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. This morning, Judge Brian Meismer officially handed down that sentence.
It's a judgment and sentence of this court that you, Carrie Jones, be committed to an institution under the jurisdiction of the Department of Correctional Services for the state of Nebraska in count 1 to not less than life, nor more than the rest of your life.
She will spend the rest of her life in a Nebraska state prison for the first-degree murder of Gene Twyford after pressuring her husband Jason to kill him. 2 of Twyford's daughters addressed the court ahead of Carrie Jones's sentence. They spoke of the type of people they were and recounted their last conversations together, adding that their statement was not just a victim impact statement.
It is a statement of strength, love, and determination, a reflection of my family's fight for justice and our refusal to be defined by tragedy. We are not just victims, we are warriors for justice.
She said she was not sure she could ever forgive the Joneses, but knows her parents and sister already have, because that's the type of people they were. Carrie Jones has 30 days to appeal the court's decision. Back to you.
So both Jason and Carrie Jones back in court this morning, getting closer to the end of Twyford and Ebeling families. Al?
Katie, do we know how long we expect it to be before we hear back from that 3-judge panel on whether Jason Jones could get the death penalty?
Yeah, so this is something very much in Nebraska. So after today's hearing, both attorneys, both parties, the state and defense, will have 60 days to enter their written conclusions or written briefs, and then that 3-judge panel will have another 90 days to come to a conclusion. So they set a date for April of next year, April of 2026, when they will hand down that sentence for Jason Jones. Now, Jason has not been present in the courtroom for his trial or for today's hearing. He did testify in his wife's defense at her trial, though, earlier this year, but he will have to be in court when he finds out if he will be spending his life in prison or sentenced to death. Al?
All right, Katie Koppel live in Hartington, Nebraska. Thanks, Katie. The Twyford family released a statement shortly after the sentencing this morning for Carrie Jones. They said, "We are relieved by today's decision and deeply appreciate the hard work of the legal team and law enforcement throughout this long and painful process. We are also grateful to the court and to the judge for the care and attention given to this case." To read more about these cases and the entire story from the beginning to the end, head to KTIV.com.